of blocks, yoga blocks if you've got them, or a stack of quite chunky books to use as props today. Take your time to just bring yourself down onto your mat, and then just get hold of your pile of chunky books, in my case, because I've not got loads of yoga props with me. So chunky books, pile of those. We're going to come down slowly to the ground with bent knees, and then just set your heels beneath your knees and your feet hip width. And then just press into your feet and see if you can slide your yoga props or your makeshift yoga props, your bricks, underneath your pelvis. So you're coming into Setu Bandha, your supported bridge pose for your first yin asana. Now once you get there, once you've got yourself propped up, make sure that the props are underneath your pelvis, underneath your sacrum, and you feel comfortable. If you know that you can take on more height, then maybe you just place a couple more books underneath your pelvis so that you've got a little bit more lift. But that's not essential, but you need to find a back bend that you can hold supported, and you can breathe steadily. So we're opening up the heart, stretching out the front body, the hip flexors and the thighs. As for your arms, you might want to take the arms overhead, taking hold of your elbows if you can, and just letting your forearms rest on the floor beyond your crown. So now that you're there, just see if you can begin to become that little bit more aware again of your breath, of matching your breath as you inhale and exhale. Perhaps just determine for yourself what would be the appropriate length of breath for you to inhale and exhale that you could sustain whilst we remain in this asana for the next 2 or 3 minutes or so. So finding yourself moving to your appropriate edge in this pose and just settling into your body, into your breath. And noticing your breath as you silently count out the breath again. Try to match the count of your inhale with your exhale. And as I leave you to just focus inwardly and focus on counting the breath and taking your mind on a journey beneath your skin, just notice where you're carrying tension, where your body perhaps feels a little bit resistant to this shape. And patiently, and with awareness, kindness, and humility for yourself, see if as you sustain this shape and count out the breath in your brain, whether some of that tension that you've been carrying deep in your connective tissues, in your shoulders, in your upper backs, your hips, will slowly begin to dissipate, melt away like mist as the sun rises in the morning, breath by breath, moment by moment. The thing is with yin is that we don't have to force struggle or strive. The most challenging part of yin practice is the control of the brain, which is why for today's practice, we're just focusing on counting the breath as we breathe in, matching the count, then as we breathe out, so that both parts of the breath are precisely the same length. And that very simple technique of counting the breath, a means of anchoring the brain and encouraging the mind to stay with the body as we come into these shapes for a sustained period of time, so that you can really get deeper into the connective tissues, deeper into the body. Try to find absolute stillness, not just physically, but always far more elusively, mentally. Now you might want to experience just slightly altering the shape and stretching out your legs now. Just try stretching out your legs. If that starts to pull too much on your hip flexors or on your lower back, then just rebend the knees and set your feet not quite so far forwards, but just try to find a position where you could maybe take the heels a little bit further ahead. It doesn't have to be stretched out completely. And if that feels too much and you feel that it's causing any discomfort and certainly any pain, just back away, bring your heels back, feet back onto the mat flat again. But just continue to breathe in and breathe out with that steady counting in your mind. Those of you that were able to take your arms overhead, change the way that you're wrapping your arms so that your hands are just on the elbow points, perhaps still, but the opposite forearm is crossed now in the front. And again, just soften into your shoulders, your upper back, your neck. Notice, little by little, moment by moment, very subtle changes being revealed within. The way that you feel physically, in the way that you feel mentally, in the way that you feel emotionally, and even spiritually perhaps, as you practice self-care, as you practice self-love, perhaps noticing that feeling that you're just really opening up to this idea of being loved by a power greater than your own. Now very slowly, as you transition and prepare for the next pose, just release your arms and bring your hands down by your hips. If you stretched out your legs, rebend your knees and set your heels beneath them hip width. Push into your feet, keep the shoulders grounded, and if you've got books, then one by one, remove those books. If you've got a couple of yoga blocks, remove them one by one. If you're using a bolster, then just slide it gently out from underneath your hips. And then just very slowly indeed, let the vertebrae of your spine, one bone at a time, come all the way down to arrive on your coccyx. Place your right hand on your belly, left hand on your chest. And just feel the weight of your back body sinking into the mat, and feel underneath your hands your steady breaths moving in and out of your belly. The full weight of your body being gently drawn towards the earth. As you move from this pose to the next, continue to remain with your upper back, shoulders, head supine and resting on the earth as you bring the soles of your feet together into prayer. Consciously be aware of any tension that you're holding in your facial muscles again. Unclench your teeth to fully relax your jaw. Once again, start to notice how you feel. And once again, match the inhale with the exhale in terms of length. Start to notice the breath as it moves into your body, and see if you can mentally follow the breath as it flows through your midbrain down into your belly and chest. And watch as your breath departs. And pause, warmed by the lungs out through the nose and over your top lip. Very slowly and gently from here, bring your legs, knees, calves, thighs side by side. Pick up your feet and just close your hips as you draw your knees into your chest and your thighs into your belly. As you give yourself a hug, a good tight squeeze, draw the thighs down towards your belly and try to imprint an impression of your back body into the mat, including the breadth of your pelvis and the tip of your tail. And from here, just help yourself or swing yourself up to come to sit. And then once again, grab your blocks, your bricks. We're coming into a supine version of Matsyasana, the fish. I want you to have some blocks underneath your mid-back. So if you're a dolphin, where your fin would be, here between the shoulder blades. But also, perhaps you'll need something, maybe lower, underneath your head. So that might be a cushion if you haven't got loads of blocks. So as you come into this one, just see if you can just lay back onto the first there. If you've got a bolster will do. And then keep your knees bent as you just lower yourself down and see if you can then figure out how much of a height you need to create to support your head. My books have all collapsed. And then just get yourself into that shape. Again, make sure that this feels sustainable, comfortable. If it's too much of an incline, if you've got books, then take one or two away so that when you come into that shape, your pelvis, your sit bones can still stay grounded. When we do Matsyasana in a more yang-centric class, we're doing this supporting ourselves with our arms. So we're trying to replicate that same heart-opening shape, but using our props. Then stretch out your legs and try to roll inwards and down your inner thighs towards the ground. Now you might want to just have your arms, palms facing sky, resting slightly adrift of the two sides of your mat, with space between your upper arms and side ribs, forearms and waist. Or you might want to take your arms overhead like you did before, only this time, instead of taking hold of the elbows, just stretch out your arms to frame your ears and let the backs of your hand on the ground. Elbows soft and your outer armpits melting towards the earth. Whatever variation on Matsyasana, the fish, you've now found, try to soften into your shoulders, facial muscles and jaw once again. Observe those points of contact between your body and the earth. With your eyes still closed and fixed on the screen in front of them, once again return to the very simple activity of matching the length of the inhale with the length of the exhale. And simply counting the breath to your own preferred length as you hang out there now on your own, just withdrawing into the inner sanctum again. And as I leave you, just to relax into that shape, continuing to count the breath, continuing to bear witness to the feelings and sensations within. See if you can be called to any areas of tension wherever they reside in the body. Create a little focal point where that tension resides, towards which you can then encourage your breath to travel. Once again, and notice that internal space beneath your skin. And cultivate an inner perspective. Feel your body softening, relaxing, submitting to this shape. Your heart opening. Levels of stress diminishing. Your chest becoming more spacious. protecting the body as you rise. Bring your hands either side of your mat and push firmly into your palms as you come all the way up again. And as you come all the way up again, take hold of your blocks, bricks, bolster, whatever you've got, place it on top of your thighs. You're coming into a seated staff pose. And then if you've got a bolster or something quite chunky here, because you want to come into a forward bend that doesn't involve you having to support your weight in your own strength. So just take a deep breath in and then slowly fold and bring your hands either towards your feet or onto your shins, and then just bow your head and let your head hang over your prop towards your legs as you close your eyes, and supported forward bend as a counterpoint for the back bend that you've just practiced. Focus your brain on counting your breath. Now our minds are so used to being wired to think, to stray, to chew around thoughts and anxieties, to keep picking at various memories and apprehensions and regrets. Try to encourage your mind to do none of that. Encourage your mind just to focus within and focus on counting your breath and feeling your body. It seems like such a simple request of the brain, but for most of us, it's very challenging indeed. Very challenging to control our minds. But we can, with practice and with patience, with kindness, determination, and humility. As you count the breath in this seated forward bend, as you inhale and exhale, see if you can imagine filling up the muscles in your back body right the way from the bottom, somewhere near the hips, to the top of your shoulders. As you inhale, feel the back body and the belly expand. And as you exhale and replicate the same length with the exhale as the in-breath, see if you can picture the breath draining out of your back body and your belly, emptying all the way to the bottom. Try to encourage your mind to stay with this counting of the breath. And every time you notice that your mind is trying to lure you away, acknowledge it's happening. But like a shepherd rounding up a wayward sheep, try to round up your mind and bring it back to this simple pursuit. Very slowly bring yourself out of this pose, and from here, just taking all of the props off of your mat for now, just come to kneeling on all fours, come to tabletop. Once you've cleared all the clutter off of your mat and you've come to a tabletop, just take a moment or two, pressing your hands firmly into the floor and lifting the front of your body towards the back. And then slowly walk down onto your elbows and forearms, taking your elbows beneath your shoulders, and then slide your legs back so that they're straight. And then coming into this supported back bend in Sphinx with your elbows beneath your shoulders, try to shrug your shoulders away from your ears. Make sure your legs remain straight and peer down bridge of your nose towards the tip. Now, if you feel that there's any uncomfortable strain here in your lower back, come down a little bit lower to begin with stacks of fists so that you can place your forehead on the top hand. Take the elbows slightly wider. If you're already very comfortable there and you know you can go to the next stage almost immediately, then take your elbows, forearms off the floor and come up into a slightly higher version of sync, sometimes called seal. Fan out the fingers, soften the shoulders, soften your gaze. Make sure that your buttocks, whilst they're engaged, aren't so rock solid that they're pinching and compressing the lower back. You want buttocks more like plump plums than grizzly prunes, in other words. Now just come back to balancing your breath, softening your gaze or closing your eyes. And as you hang out in your preferred shape, again, just find that right amount of breath for you as you inhale and count the inhale. And then match that count on the exhale. Let your breath take you on a leisurely cruise beneath your skin. Come down a little bit lower to begin with stacks of fists so that you can place your forehead on the top hand. Take the elbows slightly wider. If you're already very comfortable there and you know you can go to the next stage almost immediately, then take your elbows, forearms off the floor and come up into a slightly higher version of sync, sometimes called seal. Fan out the fingers, soften the shoulders, soften your gaze. Make sure that your buttocks, whilst they're engaged, aren't so rock solid that they're pinching and compressing the lower back. You want buttocks more like plump plums than grizzly prunes, in other words. Now just come back to balancing your breath, softening your gaze or closing your eyes. And as you hang out in your preferred shape, again, just find that right amount of breath for you as you inhale and count the inhale. And then match that count on the exhale. Once again, let your breath take you on a leisurely cruise beneath your skin. And once again, try to detach yourself from the distractions within your brain and beyond your skin. Any sounds that you can hear in the environment that you're in, just let them wash through you, serving to center you even more. Very slowly from here, just glance over your right shoulder. And just allow yourself to glance over your right shoulder whilst keeping your upper body lifted. And just feel that stretch into the neck and the left traps, the upper traps, the left side of your neck. Just glancing softly into the corners of your eyes. The rest of the body still. Shoulders softening away from your ears. Gaze steady. And just gently come back to the midline and you look down the bridge of your nose to the tip. Pause. Take a couple of long, steady, balanced breaths in and out. And just look over your left shoulder here, into the corners of both eyes, looking around as far as you can without letting your shoulders rise. Counting the breath in your brain. When you're ready, just drifting your gaze back to the center, back to the front. If you lifted your forearms and elbows, lower them down. Yourself closer to the ground and reset your hands underneath your shoulders beside your outer ribs. As you push very strongly indeed into your palms, tucking your chin, and as you slowly, with knees slightly wider than hip width, reverse your seat to your heels, make a little pillow for your head, your forehead, with your hands, and come into a supported child's pose, again as a counter pose, or being in your back bend. Feel the sitting bones resting heavy on your heels, and just passively bear witness again to the movement of breath. Feelings and sensations promoted by each part of the breath as they move in and out of your body through your nose. Feel the belly expand, the chest expand, and the muscles expanding that swaddle your back body. And then feel your belly muscles, your core muscles contract, and the muscles that swaddle your back relax as the breath departs. Not trying to get anywhere, do anything, just bear witness and breathe. As you rise up on the breath and bring yourself back to kneeling, you might need to have a cushion or something to go underneath your right buttock. As we come into pigeon, bring your right knee forwards, and you might also, this is not a bolster, but you might find a bolster is quite useful for the yin variation of pigeon, because you can place it underneath your chest and you don't feel as if you're going quite so strongly into the pose. You've got that extra bit of support, that extra bit of space. Placing a couple of books underneath your right buttock might also make the pose more accessible. Make sure that the knee is right out to the side and your right foot, the one that's underneath your body, is flexed as you come into the shape. And your left leg is directly in line with your left hip, with the foot not sickling in, but in line with the ankles. You might want to check. Now, once you've got yourself there, if anyone has got real issues with their knees in this version of pigeon, can I suggest that you lie on your back and you practice your pigeon pose in this way, which works just as well to wring out the hips and puts less pressure on our joints if you have issues with your knees. Again, once you've got yourself into the shape and you've done all the arranging of props that you need, and you've listened intelligently to your joints to make sure that they're going to be happy whether you've placed them, find stillness again. Remember, whilst you want to feel strong sensations in your hips, you don't want to find yourself experiencing any joint pain. Once you've found a point of ease, whether you've modified and come onto your backs, or whether you've stayed in sleeping pigeon on your tummy, close your eyes and focus once again on your breath as your body breathes. Focus thus is a very simple and efficient way of cultivating a meditative, therapeutic, and hugely beneficial practice for the mind and for the body. As you continue to marry asana with meditation, see if you can stay in the supine version of pigeon for 5 full rounds of your balanced breath more. Come to the end, 5 more balanced breath. Come all the way up, and as you come all the way up, the knee that you had fell forwards, the right knee forwards, and take the left leg so that it's back, and bring your hands behind you on your mat. So Mark, you want to have your right knee bent and shin here, your left thigh, so it's basically a straddle pose. Can you all see that? And then I'm going to show you this way so you can see where your hands go. Bring your hands behind you and push down your knees to the ground. As you push your hands down, try to squeeze your elbows together. Keep your feet active, in other words, keep them switched on, and try to drop your left sitting bone down towards the ground. Lift your gaze, meantime, upwards along with your navel and heart towards the sky. Once again, take a deep breath in and feel your breath filling you to the top, counting the inhale in your brain. As you match that length, as you exhale, and you bear witness to the breath as it departs, your chest soften, your left sit bones sink a little bit more heavily and willingly towards the earth. It's important to keep the legs active, drawing the kneecaps away from the hips, and the arms strong, pushing away the mats with both palms, spreading the weight towards the finger pads and the knuckles. Very gently indeed, just push away the mat with your hands and just bring yourself over to kneeling on all fours and just take a little moment to just circle your pelvis, circle your hips. As you prepare to come into pigeon second side, again, just make sure you've got the props that you need, and if you're modifying by doing this on your back for this side, then go back there. Might be that one knee's happier than the other to take pigeon onto your belly, but usually it's better to work the same both sides. Once you've got yourself set up, the left knee needs to be right out to the left, so it's not going to wind up caught and jammed underneath your belly or chest. You might just come part way using your bolster in front of you to give your chest, your front body a bit of support, so that you can just be here, placing your forehead maybe on stacked hands like 2 potatoes, or maybe you could grab yourself your pile of blocks or books and place your forehead on those. You want to check that your right leg is directly in line with your right hip. And if it's too strong to begin, you pop a little cushion or some prop underneath your left buttock so that you feel that you can really drop in on that left hip without causing unnecessary discomfort or strain. Once you've found your version of resting pigeon, sleeping swan it's sometimes called, again, just come back patiently to counting your breath. A very simple, pared down form of meditation, but no less effective for its simplicity. Every time you notice that your mind drifts away, and it might be dozens of times, like the Good Shepherd, just keep bringing that lost sheep back. Back to your body, back to your breath, back to the present moment. The here and the now is all there is. And when you're ready, and there's no need to rush, slowly begin to bring yourself up. Chin tucked in, use your hands to help you come all the way back up. Keeping your left knee bent, bend your right knee and bring yourself into a position where you're able to get, hopefully, this right sitting bone on its way to being on the floor. Again, bring your hands behind you with your fingertips pointing towards the direction of your bum. Push really strongly down into the ground with your hands. Lift your heart, lift your gaze, keeping your neck in line with the rest of your spine. Try to keep the back of your neck long. Don't throw your head back and jam the neck. Energetically feel as if you're sending energy down the front seams of your thighs from your hip crease to your knees as you draw the shins and knees down towards the floor. And whilst you're stretching out the front of your body and lifting your gaze through navel, heart and eyes towards the sky, try to squeeze together the flesh between the shoulder blades, your triceps, your elbows, trying to draw towards each other behind your back. Try to strongly press into the joints of your fingers and thumbs, pads of your fingers and thumbs, and see if you can feel that stretch also into your forearms and your wrists. All that remains now is for you to come back to counting your breath. Try to create softness in your shoulders and openness in the areas surrounding your heart center. A little bit of strength and tone in the muscles of your arms and shoulders. A stretch for your quadriceps. And a stretch for your hip flexors and your front body, your belly. But most of all, try to create a quiet, centered, clear state of mind. And it's with that clear, centered and open, spacious state of mind that we can truly de-stress and unwind and let go of long-held tension, emotional baggage anxiety, negativity, and stress. Very slowly from here, push firmly into your palms and come to sit upright. Gather about you your blocks, your bricks, your bolster, whatever it is, and come to kneel. Now you might find that you want to pop quite a substantial amount of height between your ankles. Bring your knees so that they're as wide as your hips. You might find that you need a massive pile of blocks, a great big bolster, whatever it is, as you pop your sitting bones back down onto your prop. Now use your hands, I should have said this before we got there, use your hands to slide the calf muscles out from underneath your thighs. And if you feel that's really excruciatingly strong for your knees, get a blanket, roll towel, or whatever you've got, maybe ball socks, and place that into the crease of your knees, so you've got a little bit more space in the knees. And once you're there, just sit in Virasana, try to get your feet so that they're in line with your ankles and either side of your block. If you don't need props, and some people don't, just bring yourself down between your ankles. Now that's quite a strong stretch, isn't it, for your thighs? And that's good. If that feels strong for your thighs, that's a good stretch. But if it feels excruciating for your knees, make sure you've either tried the ball socks or the roll towels in the knees. And if that's still too strong, come out of it and lie down on your back instead. Now, some of you, it's going to be absolutely enough to just sit here, maybe just have your hands on your thighs, close your eyes, ground through your sitting bones, and breathe your balanced breath. That might already be a pretty strong stretch anyway. But for those of you that know or would like to explore taking on more, then bring your elbows or your hands behind you to the floor. And you might also find that you could use a bolster for this one. Placing that behind you and coming into a supported supine version of Virasana, supine hero's pose. Don't worry if that's too far or you don't want to go. It really doesn't make any difference whether you stay stretching out your thighs upright or whether you go back and pop a cushion, a big support underneath your back. The important thing is that your knees are happy and your lower back. Some of you will have no difficulty at all coming all the way down onto the ground without any support, maybe something just for the back of your head. But remember, none of these options are essential. They're just all variations on a theme. So you need to find exactly the right place for you to be. You can sustain the pose without experiencing any uncomfortable, painful joints or strain. Where you can breathe your balanced breath without effort, and where you can surrender to the pose in whatever form it has now developed into. Like I say, stretching out quadriceps, these big muscles on the tops of our thighs, is a strong stretch. Very difficult to damage a quadricep, even if they're grumbling because they're tight. It is easy to damage knees and put too much strain on the lower back, so make sure that you're working to your appropriate edge, whatever that edge happens to be. Having employed the services of your props, now just rest on the earth in whatever pose you're in and focus on your body as it breathes. Befriend your breath. Use it as a soothing balm, a healing elixir, a means of anchoring your mind and enabling you to de-stress and to softly unwind. Help yourself out of the pose mindfully, with awareness of not wanting to put any pressure on your lower back. Bring yourself up and extract your feet up from either side of your hips. Stretch out your legs in front of you, and you might find that they will benefit from you just moving them around a little bit. Just pointing and flexing your feet, circling your feet, loosening up your ankles. Maybe just bounce out the knees a little bit because it was a strong stretch for them. And then you want to gather about you whatever you need to come into your time spent in your final asana, Shavasana. Might be that you just want to roll up a blanket and place it underneath your knees, or you could pop a cushion underneath your knees. You might want something like a low block underneath your head, or a bolster under your knees. You might find that if it's chilly in the room that you're in, that you would really benefit from placing a blanket on your body so that your body doesn't lose heat. When you come into Shavasana, just take a moment or two to arrange everything you've got so that there's no regrets that you've missed something out and then suddenly have to disturb yourself and fidget later on. Once you've got yourself relaxing and resting on your mat and got everything feeling just as it should, your body feels warm, symmetrically assembled on the floor on the mat and supported. Blink, close your eyes. As you come into this time of quiet, simple rest, an opportunity to absorb into your minds and muscle memories your practice. An opportunity just to let the energy that perhaps was prevented from flowing freely through your body due to long held tension to now flow freely through all of the myriad of pathways through which energy travels through the body. Perhaps aware of this energy as a tingling sensation moving up and down the length of your spine and radiating out along the lengths of your arms and legs towards your fingertips and toes. As you maintain your awareness of your body and your awareness of your breath, continue to encourage yourself to switch from your usual mode of doing to this mode of non-doing for a few precious minutes more. Continue to encourage yourself to simply exist for your body and your breath. To focus inwardly with mindfulness, non-judgment, equanimity. Be totally here in each moment with every breath. And of course, you will still find that from time to time your mind will wander. But when you notice that your attention is no longer with your body and your breath, without judging yourself, patiently coax your mind and your attention back to your breathing and continue to ride on those waves of breath. Fully conscious of the duration of your inhale, fully aware of the length of your exhale. Gently coaxing your mind back to the present, to each moment as it arrives and each moment as it leaves. Using your breath as an anchor, as a means of quietening your nervous system, stilling your brain, and relaxing your body completely.